All right, Rainbow Warriors and citizens of Washington. I've gotten wind that Inslee wants to set up quarantine concentration camps to arrest people and forcibly make them quarantine. This is a huge constitutional rights violation. So I am going to do a little bit of research to find out if indeed they do plan on using the contact tracing team to take people to these camps. Because if they do, then I definitely have bigger fish to fry, and I'm going to definitely need to rethink who I'm around and where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do to prepare myself. And I would advise the same for anyone. Taking people to camps is pretty ugly and an extremely vagrant violation of our rights, as we learned with taking Japanese American citizens to camps during World War II. So I can't believe that they're talking about doing the same thing for a virus that has been here since the end of last year, 2019, and has not been particularly deadly, and we're already past the peak. So I'm going to call state senators and state reps and see what I can learn. And just an FYI, if you're not aware, the legislative body of Washington State is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. They are comprised of 49 districts. You have to look up the district that you live in, and there is going to be 2 members of the House of Representatives and 1 senator. So there are 49 senators in total and 98 members of the House of Representatives. I tried contacting both of my 2 members of the House of Representatives, my 2 representatives, and neither of their offices were open. All their phone numbers went to voicemail. They said because of Corona. So let's see if I can get a hold of the senator here and get some info on this. Because if I can't get any info, that's pretty scary, especially if they're getting the quarantine camps.
Sam.
Hey Sam, sorry about that. Just had to get home here. Anyways, I am part of Senator Peterson's district, and I just had some questions about the whole COVID response so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I found actually very disturbing that I saw recently is that they're trying to set up quarantine camps for people. Is that true?
Quarantine camps. Well, I mean, there are a variety of different sort of facilities that exist. I guess it depends. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't have a square answer for you.
Yeah.
Where'd you hear that information?
I from the contact tracing report, they said that they're going to be testing people, and then I looked up Washington WAC 246-100-40, and it's called Procedures for Isolation or Quarantine. And it says health officers are allowed to test people, and that if people refuse testings, then they can get a court order to forcibly test you and take you to a quarantine facility. And then from there, they have the forms to like authorize this on the Department of Health website. And I also saw something floating around that talked about it's a hiring page for governmentjobs.com for Washington State Department of Children and Youth, and they're hiring people to what looks like work in. We are looking for current social service specialists to care for children who are COVID-19 positive or may have been exposed to COVID, and they want to take them to 3 locations: one in Lake Stevens, one in Seattle, and one in Richland. So, do you don't know anything about that?
Okay. Yeah. So I know for sure in King County they've purchased some facilities to quarantine folks in. And I know that obviously you're correct that the health officers do have the authority to go through the course and force that if they wanted to. I don't think that's actually happened though.
Are they going to be going door to door and doing this?
So they're definitely ramping up hiring of contact tracers. Although it's not. It's pretty limited in terms of who, at least so far, is going to be hired on as contact tracers. The last I heard, they had about 1,500.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Yeah, they're trying to include like National Guardsmen in that. I think they have at least a few hundred Guardsmen who have been trained up on that.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't think it's going to be a very heavy-handed sort of thing where.
Yeah, because isn't that like a blatant disregard for I forget which amendment, but your constitutional right to like privacy.
Search and seizure.
Yeah, search and seizure. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, if you're being forcibly taken to a camp, how is that not? I mean, that immediately that makes me think of what they did to Japanese Americans during World War II, and rounding people up and taking them to camps. Because I mean, that's what's obviously got me really concerned. Is do they actually plan on doing that? Because that seems like a very extreme reaction.
Well, I know they're definitely ramping up contact tracing, and that's going to be a huge part of just the overall strategy moving forward in terms of the public health response to the coronavirus. So they're definitely going to ramp that effort up. And I know that I've been on a few calls with Department of Health folks. That's kind of their goal, is to reach a point where they can contact trace for every single case. That's a very difficult bar to reach, though. That's one figure they mentioned. This is just for King County, but they mentioned that it would require 4 cases per day in order to actually do truly effective contact tracing. So it's just kind of one leg of the stool in terms of managing the response. Alongside with making sure our hospitals are fully prepared as possible, and that we're the stay-at-home orders is being followed, and all the other sorts of measures that they've taken. So it's one thing they're doing.
So they're doing the testing, but then are they actually going to take people to camps? Because that seems, like I said, like much too far of a rights violation. Have you heard about? You said they set up facilities in King County.
Well, so I know like King County, they bought a hotel or a motel for folks to voluntarily quarantine. I don't think anyone's been hauled off in handcuffs or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
That'd be a pretty extreme approach.
Yeah, especially considering other states have already begun opening up.
Yeah. So the governor's office is that's the executive branch, and he really has all the official authority currently in terms of the response to COVID. And I can't speak for his office, but I would be shocked if he went that far as to force folks to go sit in camps. I haven't heard anything that would indicate he's trying to go in that direction.
So being the representative for my senator, you're telling me they are doing the contact tracing, but they are not going to forcibly take anyone anywhere. And if, let's say, a contact tracer knocks on your door, you walk outside, they ask you to take a test, you voluntarily comply, you test positive, they're just asking that you do a voluntary self-isolation in your home, right?
Yeah, I think really the entire approach, from what I've seen, has just been really more educational than anything else. It's just telling folks there's a possibility you're exposed to coronavirus. These are the steps that are advisable under the current public health standards. Basically, just you should quarantine. You should try to quarantine within your house, away from other folks.
That's good to hear. That makes me worry less. What about if you don't want to take the test and you encounter a contact tracer?
So, I'm sorry. So the question is, if a contact tracer comes to your house and recommends a test,
and you say no, yeah.
So I'm actually not sure if they would be recommending that you take a test if you've just been exposed to coronavirus. I'm not totally certain on if that would be what they would do in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I really, I would be shocked if they were forcing folks to take tests. It's pretty, it's a nasal swab. I'd be shocked if they went that direction.
So you don't think they're going to make involuntary testing?
No, I'd be very shocked if that happened.
That's good to know that constitutional rights won't be stepped on over this, because what's bothering me is that, according to the research, we seem to have already passed the peak, which seemed to have been in late March, early April. The amount of new, even with enhanced testing, the amount of new cases has been going down. So yeah, I don't want people to be going to be tested or taken to quarantine facilities. That seems like way too far. And
yeah.
I'm actually worried, because I saw that, I got a hint of that. I was like, if they do this, then some people will say, well, now's the time to form like a local militia and keep these contact tracing agents out, and then that gets like a whole another spiel blows up. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I think the reason those laws are in the books is for a situation where I'm just hypothetically, if someone had Ebola or something like that, and they weren't adhering to health guidelines, and they're really putting someone's other folks' lives truly at a great
peril. Like if they were going to the grocery store and coughing on everything and being a dick about it, then they could get a court order to arrest them or quarantine them.
So there are definitely good reasons to have those laws, but I would be very shocked, and I haven't seen anything so far of folks or of governors being heavy-handed about this. It's really just one aspect of his overall response.
Okay. Yeah. So, what about those camps though that I mentioned earlier? Because it does kind of look like they're trying to take children to quarantine centers. Is that for why are they setting up children's quarantine centers?
So I haven't heard anything about children's quarantine centers. I know that they're definitely trying to just increase overall capacity for quarantine folks, for voluntary quarantining. Because in our homeless shelters, those are one of the areas that really cropped up as sort of hotspots for transmission.
Yeah.
And they're doing something that's called de-intensifying. It's basically just social distancing in homeless shelters.
Oh, I see.
So it's really just trying to expand capacity so that transmission is minimized. And I haven't heard anything. That certainly doesn't mean it hasn't been happening. I'm sure it is, but I haven't heard anything about children's centers. But I could see them doing that too, especially kids who are in foster care or whatnot. I can see them trying to increase capacity there for kids.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it's for homeless youth or youth at risk, foster youth, etc.
Yeah, I think it's just about keeping options open, so there's a safe place for them to go.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Uh,
one thing I'll say, you said we're past the peak, and that is true. At least we were past the first peak. But 95% of people in Seattle, this was a figure I heard last week, so it's probably a little bit out of date now, but 95% of people in Seattle have not been exposed to the virus. So
really,
there's still so there's still a huge sort of reservoir of risk
I
and danger out there.
I don't know if that's true because I just read an article saying that they found guys in Snohomish who had the antibodies, and said they were sick in like November and December. So they're
I just
um,
saw that.
yeah, so they're saying that this was here a lot longer than what people realized. And I remember like the first part, like in like February, March, they weren't testing people. If you thought you had it, they weren't testing you. They're saying no, you don't get to get tested unless
Yeah.
like for sure. I don't know, man. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the city actually has been exposed to it at this point.
That very well could be true. It's just the unknowns are really kind of the issue. And there are folks who have they've proven this. I was on a call with the medical centers. Folks that have been exposed, gotten the virus, and come back and come back sick again later. And we don't really know how much protection the antibodies provide. It could be that there's almost certainly some protection, but we just don't know like if it's complete protection for 2 years or a little bit of protection. It could be anywhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's really the unknowns that are the issue here.
Definitely. And that's actually leads me to kind of my last question is, so let's say, let's pretend that most people have been exposed to this, because there is a possibility of that, right?
Yeah.
This has just totally run wild, and we've just been playing catch up this whole time. And, we'll say 80-90% of the population has been exposed, hasn't been hospitalized. At what point does the legislative body step in as far as checking the governor's emergency order declaration? So, for example, he declared the emergency order, and I know I'm not a lawyer or legal expert. I know typically though that they have to get legislative approval to extend an emergency order past 30 days. So can you update me on that situation?
Yeah. So the mechanism for that is for any changes to statutory laws, laws that the legislature has passed beyond the 90 days, requires a letter from it's called the Four Corners, basically the leadership of the House and Senate Democratic and Republican caucuses. So during the initial phase, there's pretty much unanimous support for everything the governor was doing. The Republicans in both chambers didn't really raise any major objections.
Who are the leaders of both houses again?
So it's in the Senate, it's Senator Mark Schroessler, and in the House, what is that? I think it's Representative J.T. Wilcox. I'm a little less clear on the House side of things.
Okay.
So that's the mechanism for that. I know that lately Republicans have been stepping up a little bit more in terms of objecting to Governor Inslee's proclamation. I guess I'll raise those requests because he does require their approval. That's kind of the story there.
So he declared the emergency stay-at-home order on which day? Do you know?
So that was back in March. I think it was March 16th. I want to say.
So mid-March, and you said he can do it for 90 days, not 30 days.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the stay-at-home order that was actually I can't remember. I don't recall. I think that might have been early April, but the emergency proclamation started mid-March.
Yeah, and the emergency proclamation can last 90 days.
I believe so. Yeah, I'm not actually.
It's not 30. It's 90. You're not sure.
I think it's 90.
Okay, and then after 90, then is when the leaders, both party leaders of both houses, can hold a vote to extend or end it.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So would it only be the leaders, or would it be the whole body? Because wouldn't it be the whole body?
No. So it's since we're in the legislative interim, the legislature's not in session. It only requires the Four Corners leadership. Of course, they are consulting with their respective caucuses. But it really it just has to come from the leadership.
Oh well, is it like is it like the Four Corners plus Inslee? Who would vote on it?
So Inslee, he issues the proclamation, or he I'm not sure what the term is for it, but he requests an extension of the proclamation, and then they all just basically sign off on it. And unfortunately for some of them, that approval has come kind of at the last minute. That's just kind of it's been a factor. The fact that Republicans have had some objections to some of them.
So what if if it's only the four of them though? What if they split it? What if they split along party lines? Then what happens?
That's a good question. I'm actually not sure. A lot of this is uncharted territory.
Yeah, because I saw like the Wisconsin State Supreme Court shut down their order. I saw Michigan had like a full-on armed rebellion, and that's how they got their stay-at-home order canceled. I don't really want it to escalate to that point, but I'm kind of getting worried that it's going to. Especially like we talked about if they start telling people they need to go to camps. But you said that you've relieved some of my worry with that, and you said they're not going to enforce anything involuntarily, as far as you're aware, right?
Yeah, I'd be very shocked about that. I know Governor Inslee, he has said that he's I think this is a week or two ago. He said that he was interested in kind of cracking down more on folks who are violating the stay-at-home order. But I haven't really seen too many stories of that really blowing up and being a huge issue. And most folks have been complying with it pretty well, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of camps and hauling folks away, I think that's just not going to happen.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So do you know if he's gonna push it past June 2nd at all? Have you gotten any word of that?
Yeah, I don't really have too much inside baseball on what he's going to do there. We honestly get that information pretty much the same time as everyone else, which is that's kind of important for messaging, especially when you're talking about something important like this. So I really don't know. He said that can't guarantee that we're going to reopen on June 1st.
Yeah.
Or move into phase 2 rather. I know a lot of it kind of has to be a last minute decision. It's just depending on the data that comes in. That's why he has these 3-week phases because coronavirus is a 2-week incubation period. Plus, he wanted to add the extra week to let the data kind of flow in.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be a pretty late decision, just based on that alone.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know? Do they plan on doing any sort of like vote or anything on it, or like any sort of initiative, like or special session, anything like that, or are we just all kind of waiting for Inslee to interpret the data?
Yeah. So it's really. I haven't heard anything about an initiative. That would be interesting. I have no idea how possible that would be or what form that would take. In terms of the special session, the legislature, there is a way for the legislature to call themselves into special session, but it requires them to kind of set the rules for that in advance, and they did not do that. And the legislature actually hasn't called itself into a special session ever, basically, for the last 130 years. It's never happened.
Really?
So yeah, it's
wow, that's a little interesting piece of Washington State history there.
Yeah, actually, just learned that fact today. So it's never happened before. So it would require Governor Inslee to do it. And from what I gather, there's almost certainly going to be a special session before the next regular session in January. But it's going to be mostly focused on the budget and addressing the major deficit that's going to happen and is already happening.
Yeah, man.
So that'll be the focus of it.
Yeah, I'm getting worried. Definitely, the whole economy is getting completely shaken up from this.
Yeah, it's a dark situation. It's worse than the Great Recession, worse than a lot of things the state's dealt with, and it's reaching a point where it could even rival like the Great Depression. So it's
definitely.
The good news is Washington and Seattle. Apparently, we're well positioned, and we have Microsoft and Amazon. So we're just kind of our local economy is well positioned to recover faster. Of course, if you're not in one of those industries, that doesn't really help you too much. But I've heard that Washington, they're kind of expecting us to do a little better than the rest of the country in terms of the recovery. But
yeah, I've heard that too. Do they have any thoughts about the inflation coming from this too? Because I know that like the federal government has like really ramped up spending to kind of cover this. So that's that. The other thing I'm nervous about is the grocery stores and like the supply chain and food prices, because food prices, they said, already made like the biggest monthly jump since like the 70s. And so do you know if the governor, like the legislator, knows anything about that?
I honestly haven't heard anything about that, and I don't know too much about that. I didn't realize that food prices had jumped like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then like I've heard there's gonna be a meat shortage because some of the meat processing plants have they've had to lay people off.
Yeah.
And so like they're not able to get as much meat to the grocery stores, and they've had to euthanize animals, and it's been wild. So I guess you don't know though, but I mean, man, yeah, I'm getting worried. Like I'm actually contemplating whether I should continue paying rent or stockpile as much food as I can, and I don't think I'm the only one in that boat. So I'm worried that if we can't get, I don't know, if things don't go back to normal relatively soon, if he pushes the deadline past June, that things will get too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a concern a lot of folks have.
And even if, I think with the current plan, they said like restaurants don't fully open until phase 4, right?
Yeah, I think, I can't remember exactly. I think they
have to stay at 50% capacity till phase 4, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
so I mean, I don't think restaurants actually can make a profit at that point. So it's like, how does the restaurant industry? I mean, the restaurant industry is like it's gone bankrupt basically. Is is what it seems like. If they can't turn a profit, and if they can barely pay bills, and if they've been closed this long, what does that look like after? What's the plan for that? And I don't know if Senator like Peterson has any clout with Inslee, but as me speaking as a citizen, I would like the shutdown, the stay-at-home order to like end sooner rather than later because I'm definitely worried about like the long-term societal and economic repercussions from this.
Yeah, I think he's with you on that, and I think honestly that's something I feel like everyone kind of has that opinion. It's just a balance of I don't know. I feel like people it's kind of a spectrum of where you fall on the reopening the economy as quickly as possible versus concerns about public health. Senator Peterson definitely wants to reopen the economy as soon as possible. He's a pretty early advocate to Governor Inslee on that.
Oh, good.
It's definitely a concern for him. But yeah, I mean, I can pass that on to him.
Thank you. Yeah, because I mean, man, like if there's only how many COVID deaths has there been
in Washington?
Yeah, like 700.
Let me double check.
I think I have the stats somewhere here too. Yeah, we're at 886 as of this week. Which I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want like 1,000 people to die, but if 1 million people are bankrupt and are worried about feeding their family, like at what point do we, like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I hear you.
Yeah, like if millions of people don't know how they're gonna, are worried about food scarcity or, how they're gonna provide for their family compared to saving, like an extra 10 people, that seems out of balance.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the balance that Governor is trying to strike in his reopening plan. I can't speak for him, but I think that's what he's trying to manage.
Do you know? Is the governor's office taking calls where you can ask?
They are. It's just like the unemployment department. I'm sure they're absolutely flooded.
Yeah.
Whether or not you can get on the phone with someone, that's I couldn't tell you. But yeah, I mean, really, in terms of who can make official changes to this plan, is right now it's Governor Inslee, so he'd be the person to write or call.
Okay. Do you know anything about who are his advisors through all this? Where's he getting his info from and like basing it on?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the public health issues, it's the Department of Health, and I know that the Department of Health has some modeling companies that they use, and that they have their own resources that they use. But really, it's the Department of Health, and then he has his cabinet and economic advisors and all those sorts of folks. But really, it's the same sort of team that he's always had.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right, man. Well, thanks for answering my questions. I'm glad to know that the contact tracers aren't going to force anyone into anything involuntary. What if they do though? What if they say like, you have to take this test, or you look really sick, and we caught you like at a public park like looking really sick, and we want to detain you. Then like, would the governor say we're not taking? What happens then?
Yeah, I mean that's a hypothetical I can't really speak to. I would be shocked if that happened if they were to try to detain someone. I mean, that is, in terms of what's on paper, that is within their authority. If the Secretary of the Department of Health or an officer wanted to do that, a health officer, I think that would raise so many issues. Justifiably, that would raise so many concerns, and folks, that would blow up really fast. And I'd be shocked to see that happen. So I really doubt that that's in Governor Inslee's agenda.
Yeah. Okay, great. I won't make you play hypothetical with me. Yeah, I agree too. That would just open up a big can of worms. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking my call today.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't hesitate to.
What was your name?
Sam. I'm Senator Peterson. So
Sam. Okay, great. And then my name's Adam. All right. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks a lot. Have a good weekend.
You too. All right.